The most dangerous people never chase attention. They starve it. They let ambitious rivals burn themselves alive against empty air, which means Marcus Aurelius did not conquer the Roman world by roaring louder than his enemies. He ruled by understanding a brutal law. Most people are not defeated by force first, but by their own need to be seen. The hungry ego is a leash. The ambitious man who must be admired becomes predictable, then controllable, then fragile. This is why Marcus wrote as if he were building armor for the mind. Not armor that sparkled, armor that vanished. Stoicism, at its hardest edge, is not tenderness. It is strategic refusal. You deny the opponent the emotional leverage they need. You do not mirror their anger. You do not salute their theatrics. You do not chase their approval. You become difficult to read, and in a court, in a battlefield, or in a boardroom, unreadability is domination. Here's the first blade. Indifference is not passivity. It is a filter. It separates the man who wants truth from the man who wants applause. And the one who wants applause will always overextend, always overexplain, always reveal his throat. Marcus understood that the soul exposed to external validation is a kingdom with open gates. The enemy does not need a siege. He only needs your vanity. Think about your own life. The people who drain you most are often not the strongest in the room. They are the loudest. They demand reactions because reactions prove they matter. If you refuse that tribute, they begin to shrink. Their confidence was never structural. It was borrowed from your attention. Take it away, and they are left alone with their own mediocrity. Marcus Aurelius's genius was that he treated insult like weather. Real weather cannot be argued with, only endured. The weak man hears criticism and rushes to defend his image. The strong man hears criticism and asks one question: does this improve my judgment? If not, it dies where it was born. That is the offensive power of indifference. It moves you from the battlefield of emotions to the battlefield of consequences. Ambitious opponents want you tangled in their narrative. They want you explaining, justifying, pleading, retaliating. Because once you start reacting, they can measure you. They can map your wounds. They can predict your next move. Marcus taught the opposite. Stay centered. Stay spare. Give no excess emotion to those who have not earned access to your inner citadel. This does not make you cold in the vulgar sense. It makes you selective. A blade is not cruel because it cuts. It is precise. And precision terrifies people who rely on chaos. The manipulator survives on your confusion. The climber survives on your insecurity. The ambitious rival survives on your resentment, because resentment makes you chase them on their terms. But when you become indifferent to their status games, you have effectively removed the floor beneath them. They are still performing, but the audience is gone. This is where the Roman emperor becomes more relevant than ever. He was surrounded by flatterers, traitors, petitioners, and parasites. He could not afford emotional leakage. Every unnecessary reaction was a gift to someone trying to exploit him. So he trained the highest form of restraint, to see people clearly without becoming owned by their moods. That is not softness. That is sovereign control. The second blade is harder to swallow. Indifference is not just defense, it is a weapon of asymmetry. Most ambitious opponents depend on your discomfort to feel superior. If they can make you flinch, they have already won part of the contest. Your pain becomes their proof of power. Marcus Aurelius refused that exchange. In his inner discipline, the enemy's provocation never became his identity. He would not rent out his mind to the opinions of inferiors, opportunists, or hysterical crowds. He knew something devastating. If your opponent cannot move your center, he cannot steer your future. And here is the chilling part. The more emotionally unavailable you become to manipulation, the more the manipulator reveals himself. He escalates. He becomes louder, meaner, more theatrical. Why? Because your calm is humiliating him. Your refusal to be baited is exposing the poverty of his methods. You are not merely avoiding his trap. You are making the trap visible. This is how indifference becomes offensive. You stop feeding the performance, and the performer begins to unravel. He expected fear but received silence. He expected outrage but received detachment. He expected a duel but found a wall. A wall does not insult the hammer. It simply remains. And in that refusal, a hierarchy is rewritten. The ambitious opponent who needed your approval now needs your response. The man who demanded your attention now depends on your refusal to give it. That is reversal. That is control. That is the Marcus Aurelius method at its coldest. Not victory through noise, but victory through the starvation of need. The empire was not held together by passion. It was held together by judgment under pressure. The same principle governs every arena where status matters. If they cannot hook your pride, they cannot guide your hand. Now look at the deeper psychology. Ambition without self-mastery becomes predation. Such people do not simply want success, they want to feel above others while achieving it. They feed on contrast. Someone must be weaker, more emotional, more desperate. If you stop playing that role, they lose the mirror in which they appear large. Marcus Aurelius did not preach indifference because he hated humanity. He preached it because he understood human weakness with surgical clarity. He knew that most conflict is not about truth. It is about rank, about who bends first, about who loses composure first, about who exposes the most. This is why indifference can feel almost supernatural to aggressive minds. It denies them the emotional currency they trade in. No anger to hijack, no fear to exploit, no vanity to flatter, only disciplined distance. The result is not emptiness, it is concentration. Your mind stops leaking power into every provocation. You conserve force for the decisive moment. That is the old Roman lesson. Do not spend your strength proving you have strength. Wait, watch. Let others exhaust themselves trying to control the uncontrollable. If you understand this, you begin to see why Marcus was so dangerous as a thinker. He was teaching self-command in a world addicted to reaction. He was teaching that the man who can endure contempt without collapsing has already stepped outside the reach of common manipulation. The crowd thinks silence is weakness. The wise know it is often a siege engine. Look around you. The ambitious are usually the most fragile when ignored. Their confidence is loud because it is unstable. Their power requires constant confirmation. Withdraw that confirmation, and their architecture starts to creak. There is one final lesson in Marcus Aurelius's quiet blade, and it is the one most people miss. Indifference is not an end state. It is a method for choosing where to strike. The Stoic does not care about everything. He cares about the right things with terrifying clarity. That means he can afford to be indifferent toward noise, status theater, petty competition, and emotional bait. By refusing all of it, he creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, his real power gathers. This is what ambitious opponents never understand until it is too late. They mistake your non-reaction for surrender. They think your calm means you are harmless. But the opposite is true. If you are not wasting energy on their games, you are saving it for your actual objective. While they are busy proving themselves, you are building position. While they are trying to dominate perception, you are controlling reality. That is why Marcus Aurelius remains terrifying across centuries. He understood that the sharpest blade is often the one never seen coming. No spectacle, no tantrum, no begging, just the hard arithmetic of a mind that cannot be manipulated. And when the moment arrives, the Stoic does not need to shout, he simply acts. The opponent, already exhausted by his own performance, finds that the world has moved without him. That is the punishment of underestimating indifference. By the time you notice it, it has already become leverage. Marcus's lesson is not to become emotionless, it is to become unbuyable, unshakable, unavailable to the cheap tactics of ambitious people who mistake noise for force. That is the quiet blade. It cuts because it never advertises itself. Marcus Aurelius did not teach men to feel less. He taught them to be owned by less. That distinction is everything. In a world of aggressive climbers, public performers, and emotional parasites, indifference is not emptiness. It is command. To master these tactics in real life, get the Silent Observer's Playbook, or check out the recommended reading in the description below. Like and don't forget to subscribe for more. Subscribe for more.